Hello, I'm Rick Stivers. I'd like to welcome you to YoungMartin'sReels. Today's project is going to be this Daiwa BG-90, and we're going to take it apart and service it. Now, I'm going to tell you, I've already been into this reel. I'm not going to lie to you or anything. This reel came into me last week, and when it came in, everything on the reel worked except the anti-reverse override. This lever would not work, and I'm going to show you what I did to free that up. Aside from that, it's a really nice reel, and it's a big reel. And yes, it has the BG-90 wobble that it has, and I always thought maybe that would be because of the not enough balance weight in here, but that doesn't seem to be the case. I think it might be because of the big extra thick bell wire. So anyhow, this is a beast of a reel. So let's start off. We're going to take off the spool. And then we're going to go ahead and take off the handle. Now the handle, you take the cap off here, and you've got a screw here that you have to unscrew in order to remove the handle. If it doesn't come out, make sure not to lose this plastic piece right here. Okay, that's your anti back off. All right, then the handle comes out. Now, this I haven't taken apart, so I don't know. Okay, good. It's going to come out of there freely. Does not hurt to go ahead and lubricate the threads on this handle here. And let's put some oil down inside the knob. Make sure it will turn freely. Now, when I started on this last week, this knob was almost white, and I've been wiping it down with some oil every so often, and it's getting darker and darker as we go. I'm just letting it soak into the wood, and it's getting to be a very nice looking handle. As that oil soaks in, it'll get darker and darker until it's finally catches up. Yeah, see, it's turning white here again, where it's soaking in again. But yeah, all right, let's move on. We're going to remove the 3 screws over here. Okay, side cover comes off. Now inside, we're going to find the main gear. And before we go trying to pull that out, let's go ahead and rotate this around to bring the axle shaft to the bottom and the crosswind block to the bottom. And that way we can remove the screw that's holding the crosswind block to the axle shaft. And then we can pull out the axle shaft. There we go. There's the axle shaft. Okay, now we can take out, there's our bearing. Here comes our main gear. Now, sometimes this bearing, it should stay in down there, but sometimes it won't. Sometimes it'll get stuck on the shaft. You may actually have to get the crosswind block out of the way in order to get in here and get this crosswind gear out. See, you can, if this is still in, work around it and be able to get in there to that screw, but it's kind of tight to do so. Okay. There's our bearing. It goes in the bottom of the case. And let's go ahead and take out the crosswind gear. Now, if you think my voice is different than it has been, well, that's because I'm just now getting over my second bout with COVID. So I have not recovered from it yet. 2 days ago, I was very sick in bed, and today I'm feeling much better. I'm feeling good enough to get this knocked out. So we're gonna proceed on pull this screw out, and we will remove this locking plate. There we go. And now we need a 14 millimeter to take this off. And I believe that's what, nope, that's not a 14. Definitely not. There we go. There comes the nut for that. And then we should be able to take off the rotor. And we're going to take this rotor apart today. We usually don't, or some people don't. I usually do. So we're going to do that on this one. Okay, set that over there. And that's going to bring us down to here. First thing we're going to do is take off this anti-reverse adapter and spacer right here. We're going to blow this up. I'm going to zoom right back out again. I want you to be able to see how this works. Okay, this, see that little wire right there? It fits down in between those two. Okay, and this is our anti-reverse as it comes around. When it starts to back up, see how it will, if it's pushing down on this, it'll grab. See there? Okay, now, we're going to back this back out, like so. We're going to pull this off. And you can usually pull this straight up, but you're taking a chance on damaging this right here. So let's go ahead and unscrew the anti-reverse claw and remove it. There we go. Now you can remove the spacer and the anti-reverse cog. And that's going to bring us down to this bearing. All right, all three screws are removed. We can remove the bearing retainer. There's the three screws. And let's pull out the pinion gear. All right. And if you want, you can go ahead and take the bearing off the pinion gear. Now, like I said, when this reel first came in, this lever would not rotate. And so what I did is first I tried to grab it in any way I could, trying to figure out a way to get it to come loose, and I wasn't able to. So what I did is I unscrewed the handle off of the end of it. And then I went through, well, taking off the shim washer and the locking washer. Okay. And I went through my screw box and I found a screw that had the same exact thread pitch as what was on here, and I screwed this screw all the way into the bottom. Like so. And then I began to take a small hammer and tap on it. Lots of oil, tap, 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 lots of oil, tap, 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 nothing. So then I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I need to get this thing to rotate some. And what I did next, vice grips, and I grabbed hold of the shaft here, and I tried to maneuver it. Well, it was already in this position right here, okay, where this pin was up against here. I needed to get it to rotate this way, so I needed that to go counterclockwise. So I took the vice grips and gripped them down here as low as I could, and while holding pressure on that shaft, I began to tap it again with the hammer while I'm holding rotational pressure on it. And I kept doing that, and after about probably 50 or 60 little light taps, it popped loose and come out of there. And what I found was that this end of it right here was completely coated in, you can still see it's pitted somewhat, but it was all completely coated with corrosion. And you can see it if you blow it up. You can see a little bit of the pitting still left. But now what happened from me grabbing it, you can still see traces right here of where I grabbed hold of this aluminum shaft with those vice grips. It bit into it. So I chucked this up in my drill and I sanded it down smooth again so that it wouldn't interfere as it was fitting through. So I wanted you to see that's how I went about getting this to come off. So so then, in order to put this back, I unscrewed the screw back out. You can still see it looks pretty rough down there. And once I had done that, I took the body and dropped it into my vinegar bath and let it sit for about a half hour. And that took out the corrosion out of the center in here. So now, in order to put this back, I'm going to set this over here. And if you were taking this out, you needed to pay attention to the way this spring was mounted. So in order to put it back, you hook this spring up from underneath like that, and you set this down like you're going to put it back. But before you do, you need to make sure this end of the spring drops into this hole right here. Right there. Trying to do it on the camera is a little bit difficult. There we go. Oh, thought I had it. There we go, down into the hole. Okay, then rotate a little bit, and if you really want to hold it tight, rotate it to there. Okay, and then hold your finger on top of it. Okay, while you're holding it, then you put in first the round washer, then the keyed washer. It's going to be called a keyed washer because it's got a keyway in the middle. Okay, then you put on the knob, like so, and screw it back down. And if you don't have it in position, it won't tighten down properly. You have to wiggle it back and forth a few times to make sure you've got it. Okay? Springs installed, just like that. Sorry, I had to take a break there for a minute, lose that shirt. The COVID's got hold of me and it's kind of cooking me. So, all right. The next thing we're going to do is put the pinion gear back in. Okay. This has all been cleaned and it's got new fresh grease on it, so I'm not going to re-grease it all. But your pinion goes here. Your bearing goes here. Slide it straight in like so. And now when you put, let's go ahead and get rid of these vice grips. They don't need to be sitting here. When you put this retainer back on, see this point here? Well, that point's supposed to be pointing over here towards this post. Okay, or kind of over towards that post. Yeah, there we go. Right there. Okay, and then you're ready to start putting in the 3 screws. All right, well, sorry about that, but for some reason, one of the 3 screws managed to migrate all the way over to the other side of my workbench. And it took me a bit to find it. I never tighten this screw. If I'm putting in multiple screws in something, I never want to tighten any of them down all the way until I have all of them started. All right, there's the bearing retainer in. And if you haven't already greased the pinion gear. You want to grease it now. Okay. The next part to go on is going to be this spacer. And it looks like a gear, and I don't know why, unless they used this part off of something else and it happened to be exactly the same size, so they just kept making it as a gear and this. But anyway, by the way, these two do separate right here. Okay. And it's possible, if you've had it come off, to put this on backwards like this. You don't want it to go that way. You want it to go this way. Okay. Slip this on like so. And now we're going to put the anti-reverse claw back on. It's going to go right here in this hole. And again, this is one of those parts that can be put in backwards. And now you can't. You really can't. You'd have to work really hard to try to do that. Okay. All right, with that done, we come back and we set this anti-reverse piece back in here with that spring wire in between there like that. And at this point, we would be ready to put the rotor on if we had redone the rotor. Now, what do you have in this rotor? Okay, you don't have a whole lot. Okay, first thing, let's go ahead and let's take this end of it off. Let's find a screwdriver that looks like it's suitable for taking this off. Okay. Okay, you know the old words, do no harm. Well, first off, let's make sure that this roller is rolling, and it is. Okay, if your roller's rolling and you can't get that screw out, then leave it alone. Don't try to take it out because you can break it. If you snap it off, this whole thing is shot. So we're not going to try to take that out. We're going to leave it in, and we're going to lubricate this roller. And by lubricating the roller, not only are you putting lube in there, but you're also letting it, with time, it will slowly seep into those threads, and maybe next time it goes to be serviced, it will come out. Okay, but in the meantime, let's say we need to redo this. Let's try to take that off. Let's see where an appropriate screwdriver for that is. This one. Okay. There we go. Now, I've never had this one apart, so let's see what we have in here. Ooh, that's a whopping big spring. Well, this will be fun to put back together. Okay. Yeah, I still think we can do it, so we'll go ahead and do it. I'm going to hold down on it, hopefully keeping it from popping apart. There we go. Okay. Now we'll take the tension off. There we go. Okay. It's a pretty big spring. All right. And now we can clean up here and down here. And this actually looks like it's in pretty good shape. This side over here is a little dirtier. Old dried up grease. Okay, now if you notice right here, that wire for that spring has to rub up against the body. That's why I always like to try to put some grease right there where they're going to rub. Okay. And then that pin in there has to rub against this. And now we'll put some grease on the back side as well. And let's see if we can put this back together. Okay, the long side of this comes up from underneath. Okay, and let's see if we can put this together all in one fell swoop. We're going to put this into that hole right there. And now we got to get this guy to come around and drop into place like so. And while holding that in place, I've got to try to get this screw to go in. Let's see what it takes to get it lined up. Easier said than done, huh? Let's try it a different way. Let's put it in here and leave the bottom out for now. Hang on, this is twisted on me. There we go. Let's put the spring into the hole here. Let's see if we can get that to go in there, okay? That we can. Okay, got it started there. Now I'm going to bring this around, see if I can get that there into the hole, and now we can bring it back, and now pull it down. All right. I don't know if you guys could see that. Hang on. Let's do it all over again, and hopefully you'll be able to see what I do this time. Okay, we're going to put the spring in the hole here on this side, and let's go ahead and set this in place like this, and let's get the screw started. Don't screw it all the way down. Now, lift up on it and rotate this around until you get that spring to drop in the hole. All right. Can't see the hole. There we go. Get it to drop into that hole like that, and then bring it back around. Now, in order to do that, you've got to lift out on this. So if you screwed that down too far, you won't be able to lift it out and bring it and pivot this down. If it's still in, it'll be locked right there, and you can't get it to go beyond. Okay, you have to lift it out. To get it to go. Once you've got it out, then it will drop below. And now, trying to show you, I've popped it loose again. Okay, so one more time we're going to do it. Third time's a charm, right? Okay. I'll put this in the hole. I'm trying to make sure that everybody can see what I'm doing. Put the screw in the hole. Screw it down just a few turns, then lift out on it to where you can look, see what I've done. Lift out on it and pull this down. Now this will be able to come up, and you should be able to get it to go. Let it come out of the hole back here. There. Okay. With that like that, we should be able to bring this around and put it in that hole like that, and then rotate it back up, and there's not a whole lot of tension on it at that point, and then push it back down so that this is locked in place, and then tighten down your screw. Don't take it all the way down just yet, because you want to take a little grease on your spring, and then slide this plate back in place. It's got to go up under there, so that's why you didn't want to tighten it down all the way yet. You might need to back it off just a little bit. There we go. Slide it up in there. Make sure it drops down into the notch that's there for it, like that. And then put your screw back in. Okay, now you can go ahead and tighten this one back down. All right, now, if you've done all that and all is feeling good, you still haven't done this other side over here. Well, there's really nothing to do over here except maybe to clean around this hole. If you take this screw out, you will see that there's nothing on this side over here except your balance weight. That's all that's over here. Okay, so let's set this back in place. And if you look, this one is just a hair sprung. Not much. It's almost acceptable just like it is. But see how it's lifting out? Now we're going to take and bend this bell wire in just a hair so that it doesn't do that. Like that. Okay, now put your screw back in. And I've been told that there's no reason to do it, but I always like to put just a drop of oil on this side over here of the pivot. Okay. Rotor's ready to go. We'll set it back in place. Okay. Seems a little sloppy, doesn't it? Okay, we'll put the nut back on. No longer feels sloppy, okay? We're going to put the locking plate in place. And install the screw. Okay. With that done, we are ready to add some, well, first thing we're going to do is put this bearing back in on this side. Okay, push it into place and oil it good. I don't grease bearings, I oil them. We'll oil it again, even though it just got oiled. Okay, then we're going to grease where the crosswind gear rides, and the crosswind gear is well lubricated at this point. I'll set it into place and tighten down this screw. Next thing we'll do is we'll lubricate the crosswind block, and we'll set it into place over top of this post right here. See that post on the crosswind gear? It fits into that notch right there. So when you slip this in, it has to go under that rod, sit back in there like that, and now that's ready. Then we take our main gear Make sure that it's well greased all the way around, which this one is. And we slip it back into place like that. And we're ready to reinstall the axle shaft. And we oil the axle shaft. And this was previously oiled, but I'm oiling it again because I wiped it off when I took it out. Okay, slide it into place. It's got to go into this crosswound block with the slot to the hole side. There we go, like that. Put the retaining screw back in. Okay, make sure that you haven't lost your shims right here. This one's got 2 of them. Make sure that you didn't lose them. Put them back where they belong. And we'll put the bearing back on. We'll oil the bearing. Put the side cover plate back on. And the 3 screws. And for those of you who wish, we'll put a little drop of oil in each one of those holes. It'll help keep corrosion from building up inside there. That done, we're ready to do the rotor or the spool. Okay, we will pop out the clip, and that should allow us to remove the drag washers. And the drag washer setup in this is a Teflon washer, followed up by a keyed washer. See this rectangular keyway in the middle? Followed up by another Teflon washer. Now these don't require any lubricant or anything else. They're self-lubricating. Then goes your eared washer, followed up by one more Teflon washer, followed up by the last keyed washer. And you've got those all in. We'll put the clip back in. All right. And we're going to put a drop of oil on the clicker. That's your drag click. Drop this down on, and you can hear that clicker. Put the drag knob back on. Now normally there is a plate that goes in the top of this, but this one's missing it. Okay, drag is working beautifully. Okay, I'm going to wipe off the knob. That's looking pretty good. It'd stand to be oiled a couple more times on the ends, but it looks a lot better than it did when I first got it. Okay, slide the handle back in. Let's back this out some more now. Let's put the screw back in. Okay, there we go. And put the end cap on it. There's our anti-reverse. Anti-reverse override. Good. The bail trips. It's a slam bail, but at least it doesn't stick up. Okay. Drag works. All right. So, COVID and all, this is the BG-90 Daiwa 3-ball bearing reel. And this one's ready to go. And I hope you liked the video. If you did, please hit the like button. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. Tell me what it is you didn't like about it. For now, that's Rick Stivers of Young Martin's Reels signing out.